Welcome to our, oh my gosh, Cohort 6 informational webinar. Holy Toledo, I cannot believe it's already Cohort 6. You will learn, hello, and please, we are very interactive. So what we're going to do, actually, since there's already a lot of you who are on, I love that you're on time. This is amazing. So do me a favor. Oh, so we have Nicole from New York. Oh my goodness. If you could put in the chat, if you're in college, like where you're going to college or where you went to college, and equally as important, please put how you found out about LEAP. Was it from a LEAP fellow? Was it through a college access organization? Do you just follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn? Let us know how you found out about us, because it's always interesting. So let's see. All right. So we have, okay, so someone from a LEAP fellow, just looking on here to see. Oh, look at, see, so a lot of you from, oh, shout out to Alondra. Oh my gosh, she tells so many people. Oh, this is great. Okay. I love it. I love it. Keep them coming. So let me, I'm going to introduce myself, and then you're going to meet the panelists. So my name is Cindy Lopez. I am the founder and CEO of LEAP. I'm a retired attorney. Well, I'm using retired in quotes. I'm an attorney, so not retired, but I was a career dad, which is a deputy attorney general in California. If you recognize that, yes, Kamala Harris at one point was my boss. I've met her several times, so shout out to her. In 2019, I was able to retire at a very young age, and I created LEAP. We have been very successful. We are in our 5th cohort, so a lot of these people who you're going to hear from tonight are in Cohort 5, except Michelle. And we have close to a 97% acceptance rate to law school. So yeah, it's pretty good. So let me, and once we introduce people, oh, I'll give you the agenda after we introduce people. So we'll start with Michelle.
Hi guys, my name is Michelle Gonzalez. I am from LEAP Cohort 4. I graduated from UC San Diego in 2020, and I'm an incoming JD candidate at the University of San Diego School of Law.
Yay. Edgar?
Hey everyone, my name is Edgar. I graduated Chico State in 2021, and I am currently in Cohort 5. So I will be applying to law school in 2-3 months, which is crazy. But yeah.
It's very crazy. Okay, Eva?
Hello everyone, my name is Eva. I just graduated in the spring from University of California, Riverside.
And Eva's in Cohort 5. 5. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right, Edmundo?
Hi everybody, Edmundo here. Graduated from Miami-Dade College in 2012, FIU 2014 with my bachelor's, and then I got my graduate degree at USC 2019. Cohort 5.
Fitz?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Fitzgerald Gerard. Everybody calls me Fitz. I graduated from CUNY New York College in 2020, and I'm a proud and grateful member of Cohort 5.
Aw. All right, and last but not least, Lila.
Hi everyone, my name is Lila Mendoza. I am the program coordinator for LEAP, so I oversee a lot of the programming, like the workshops that some of our fellows will be talking about today. I also help with the application process, the interview process, basically almost anything you can think of, chances are I play some role in it. So I am essentially Cindy's right-hand woman.
Yep, could not do a lot of this without Lila. All right, so we're going to have the fellows go off camera, mute and go off camera. And Lila and I are going to, this is what you're going to learn, hopefully. So we're going to go over what the criteria is to get into LEAP, how to apply, the application packet materials. the timeline, because we are starting September 1st to accept applications. And here's what I'd like to ask you. If you have any questions, please do not put them in the chat. Please put them in the Q&A. And if one of our fellows can answer, they will. If not, we'll try to answer them at the end. But if you put them in the chat, we won't get to them. Okay, so Lila, let us share the screen. All right. And this is just kind of what I just talked about. Okay, so as I said, I'm the founder, CEO of LEAP. We have been around since 2019, but 2020 was our first cohort. If you recognize 2020, yes, that was the pandemic. Who knew that we were going to have a pandemic at the beginning of LEAP? So we had to be virtual. And when we first started, we were just in SoCal, but now we're in Northern California and Southern California. And in a few years, I have made a promise to myself that we will be on the East Coast. I can't tell you how many students email me every week and ask, when are you coming to the East Coast? So that will be, thank you. That will be soon. Wait, my bad. Not soon, in a few years. I do want to say this right off the bat. If you don't live in California, you won't be able to apply to LEAP. You need to live here because we're in person. You have to attend our 8 workshops, really 9, starting in January, in person, and there's no exceptions, unfortunately. So if you're from out of state, I'm so sorry, but we made that decision a couple years ago. Okay, next slide, Lila. Lila, why don't you just kind of go over this real quick?
Awesome, thank you. So a little bit about what we actually do with our fellows. So we, like Cindy mentioned, we host workshops on a monthly basis. So we're able to offer that for students, and I'll go a little bit over the intricacies of each one later on after our fellows kind of go over it with you. But there are essentially 9 workshops in total, 8 real ones, and then 1 is sort of like your introduction to it all. Then we also offer LSAT test prep services. So that's kind of what our current fellows, our cohort 5 fellows, are utilizing right now as they prepare for the LSAT. We also offer mentorship. So that's a very key component that makes our program stand out from a lot of other ones. We offer both an attorney mentor as well as a law student mentor. So you get to hear from someone who has been in your shoes maybe a couple years out, and then someone who is currently in the shoes that you'll be filling in a few years, or within a few cycles, I should say. And last but not least, this definitely is something that makes us stand out, is the pre-L boot camp. So once our fellows have applied to law school, they have the opportunity to participate in the pre-L boot camp. So this is really to help you prepare. Think of it as like a summer bridge program, if you will. If any of you participated in it in undergrad, it was that transition period between when you went from high school to college, or if you went to community college, that first year experience program. And so this is similar to that. And it's really trying to level out the playing field, right? So trying to get our fellows to understand what to expect during that first semester of law school, what to expect in their first year, what are some tips that got them through it, what are some study habits that they should kind of already keep in mind. So all the things that maybe you'd want to know that could be very useful during your first year, that's really what the pre-L boot camp covers. Anything else that you want me to add to that, Cindy?
I don't think so.
Awesome. So moving on. All right. So this is probably why you're really here. You're like, all right, give me dates, give me information. So this is really the cycle. This is the application timeline. The application will become available on our website. So if you actually scan that QR code that you see on the top right, it'll take you to our website. It'll become available starting September 1st, and it is due September 29th. Correct me if I'm wrong, Cindy, at 5 p.m. She may have stepped away, but yes.
No. Sorry, I'm trying to answer some of these questions. So it will be, let me just look on my calendar because it's exactly 4 weeks. So it'll be, yes, the 29th at 5 p.m. Pacific.
Okay. Oh, yes. Thank you for that. Pacific. So after that's happening, then we on our end will start reviewing all of the applications. We'll extend invitations for fellows to or potential fellows to interview. Then we will release our admission decisions in November. As Cindy mentioned, pretty much the majority of our programming is in person. One of the exceptions is our orientation. That part is virtual. So that's really the only time that we kind of expect you to be virtual. Other than that, we are in person to some capacity, even if we're not hosting the workshop itself in person. And we'll explain a little bit more about that in just a second. But I could see the chat is going on, so I'll try to answer it right now as we go through this.
I know, I love it. There's lots of great questions. Just really quick, I'll answer the question about in person. So, okay, follow me here because I know this is going to sound a little bit confusing. So we're in Southern California and Northern California. If you are in the Southern California or our MTO chapter, and MTO stands for Munger Tolles Olson, you will be meeting at Loyola every other month in person at the law school. And the other months you will be meeting at the MTO offices in downtown. You'll be meeting in person, but you'll be watching on Zoom because I will be up in Northern California in person. So if we're in Northern California, we meet at Santa Clara Law School, although that might change, but you are required to be there. And if you are in the Northern California chapter, the months that you're not watching from the law school, you will be meeting at a law firm in person, watching it on Zoom. So it's kind of hybrid, but not really, but you're required to be from February through September, you're required to be in person somewhere. I know it'll make more sense once you are selected to be in LEAP and you go through the interview process and orientation, that'll make more sense. I need to really emphasize, you must attend from February to September, every workshop in person. Okay, so application components. Go ahead, Lila.
Alrighty, so what do we want to know about you? We're going to ask you your basic demographic information, right? Name, address, all that good stuff. There are some other key components about your demographic information that we call them like identity markers that we're also going to ask about, simply because this program is really meant for people who are not represented in the legal field, right? So we want to include as much of that representation as possible. So you may see some additional questions about asking whether you're first gen, whether you are documented or undocumented, whether you a certain race or ethnicity. Oh my goodness, I don't have a tongue twister there. Ethnicity that you identify with, any disabilities that you may have. There are others, so they're not limited to a certain top 3 or top 4. There are some that we suggest, but you have other identities as well that if you feel are very important and should be included in this. If you're a single parent, all of those things can be included in your application as well. Then there will be some short responses, some short response prompts that we want you to answer. And we do ask for copies of your unofficial transcripts. That's really important. So you'll have to upload those, so make sure that you have access to your transcripts. If you attended a community college and then transferred over to a 4-year, that's perfectly fine. We still need copies of both transcripts. So you can't just show your 4-year transcripts and include the community college coursework on there. We want it from all institutions separately so that we can review all of the information. And we'll also ask you for 2 references. Please note that we're asking for references. So similar to when you apply to a job and they ask you for references, it means name and contact information. We're not asking for letters of recommendation. Really, it's just if we want to know a little bit more about you, who are those people that can vouch for you, who can speak to your either academic abilities or just your work ethic, whatever it may be. And last but not least, also your resume. This is great. It just helps us get to know what you've been involved in. So even if you're a student, just what activities you've been involved in. If you've been out of school for some time, it's great to know like just what you've been doing since you've graduated. whether you've been attending law school, oh my goodness, you wouldn't be here. Grad school is what I meant to say, or whether you've been working, where you've been working. So it just helps us better understand a little bit more about you, right? Something that's really, 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 really important, it happens every year. Please, when you're going through the application, read all of the instructions. I can't tell you, Cindy can't tell you either, how many times it happens where people won't read thoroughly. And so they're missing parts of their application, or they don't submit all of the materials in one single PDF. That's the way that we need the application to be submitted. So it's really, really important that you follow directions. I know that sounds intuitive. I know that sounds obvious, but you know, as you're working on this, sometimes the nerves get the best of you. And so it's possible to make mistakes. We're all human. So do your very best to just follow through, double, triple check your work before you go ahead and submit your application. Anything else, Cindy, before we move on?
I'm trying to answer, I love all these questions. By the way, again, please don't put any questions in the chat. Someone asked about the acceptance rate, or does everyone get accepted to LEAP? No, everyone does not get accepted to LEAP. I would love to have the resources and the funding to accept all of you. Just to put in perspective, last year we had 370 applications for 65 positions. So I'm not good in math, but what is that? 1 in 5, 1 in 4 chance. So it's very, very, it's very competitive. So, all right, Lila, next. So let me think. I want to see if I need to add anything. Oh, Lila, I'm not sure if you said this, that they have to apply on our website. Did you talk about that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So just again, if you scan this QR code right here, it'll take you to the website where you'll find the application. So if you look for it now, it's not there. So don't panic.
Yeah.
But it will be available on our website as well. And then these slides will also be available on our website. So in case you missed something, we'll possibly be up there.
Right.
Okay.
If you want the recording, I'm not going to send it out to everybody, but if you email me tonight or tomorrow, I'll send you the link. Okay, here's our selection criteria, which a lot of you, I'm sure this is very, very important also. So you need to be a current junior, senior, or college grad. I really would like to emphasize, if you are still in school, a junior, senior, you really need to think about if you want to apply to LEAP now. It's a lot of work. You will hear that from the fellows. And I know this is going to sound bad. School is not an excuse to not keep up with our assignments. So you're going to be next year in April, you're going to be writing your resume while you're also preparing for finals, right? In May, you're going to be doing a draft of your personal statement while you're possibly about to graduate. In June, you might be also graduating and you're writing your diversity statement. Also, let me add to that this whole time, starting in March, you're going to be taking LSAT class every single Sunday from March until this time next year, because next week is the August LSAT. And by the way, I don't know if you all know right now, yesterday and today was the bar exam. I took the bar exam a long time ago. I can tell you, I still remember it like it was yesterday. So we have 11 fellows who were the first graduating class of LEAP, and they are literally just finished probably an hour ago. I remember what I was doing right when I finished, and we were at a bar. We took the bar and then we went to a bar. So that's all to say, we accept juniors and seniors. You just have to really think, like, am I going to be able to do all this work? Minimum 3.0. No exceptions, unfortunately. It's minimum 3.0. And I can tell you, other pipeline programs have a higher minimum GPA. You must reside in California. Someone asked if they are going to school in California, but in the summer they go back home, which is out of state. Can they be in LEAP? No, I'm going to say no, because there are all sorts of issues. You might say that yes, you'll be able to fly back for those couple months in the summer. I can tell you, we had someone this year who was supposed to fly every month and from another state, and she didn't. So unfortunately, you have to reside in California. We have these diversity factors, and as you will notice on these diversity factors, we don't ask about race or ethnicity. And thank God, because as you are all well aware, the US Supreme Court, I'm not going to give my political opinion about this, but the US Supreme Court felt that affirmative action was not a legitimate program, even though it is. And there are a lot of programs who had to change their selection criteria. We've never asked about race or ethnicity, but we do ask, are you low socioeconomic status? Are you first-gen college? First-gen college means neither parent finished college. If it's a sister, a brother, an aunt, and uncle, that doesn't count. It's only your parents. LGBTQ+, and then we have other factors. Are you system impacted? Either you were formerly incarcerated or someone in your family was formerly incarcerated or currently, formerly homeless, undocumented. There are so many diversity factors that law schools need, that you have these lived experiences that are considered diverse. So when you see on the application other, make sure you put, if you qualify for any of those. Now, we might not have something on there, so you can add in. So these are just examples. All right, Miss Mendoza, what is the next slide, please? I love all these, oh my God, I see. Okay, so let's bring back on camera our fellows. And we'll have you muted except Edmundo. I think Edmundo's first.
Yep, that's me. Hi, everybody. So we're here to talk about the monthly workshops. So they happen every Saturday, once a month. It's a full day in person, roughly 9 a.m. to 4 or 5. Cindy is always great about wanting us to meet after and have some wine, but that's not for right now. So the workshops are covering just about everything you could think about. And I say this because even though I've done graduate school and I thought because that would give me some more insight to the law school application, I was wrong. There are all kinds of things that the workshops prepare you for. So I have a list here. So just choosing proper letter of recommendations, your resume, which even though I think I have a good resume, is not applicable to law schools. Addendums, other statements. I have a low undergrad GPA. How can I write about that? How can I explain to law schools that that is not applicable to who I am now? We also bring in admission committees, deans of admissions who, last month we did this month, we did a mock admissions type of thing that we were giving people's LSAT scores and their overall stories and their GPAs. And we, with the Dean of Admissions with Berkeley and Santa Clara, if I'm not mistaken, or no, UC Hastings, decided if they were going to get in or not. And even both Deans of Admissions were debating on what they thought and if they would admit this student. So we get to hear from the folks who are actually admitting us, giving their perspective, all kinds of different really, really important tools and answering questions that I didn't even know I should be asking. And I think probably my favorite part is definitely the panels. So we have panels on just about every issue area you could think about. And I wrote them down. I'll just quickly write them off. Immigration, current judges, educational equity, government lawyers, big law, employee rights, housing justice, environmental justice, and they're often here accessible to us. And these are current practicing lawyers and a lot of really impressive individuals who, just honestly exploring things that I never even thought about. And it's super, super helpful. So it's a mixture of how to get into law school. It's a mixture of working on all of our application materials. It's a mixture of bonding with your cohort because these are going to be people who are going to be lawyers with you. So, you're going to obviously keep these relationships for a long time, which is really cool. And then just talking to real lawyers in person who are doing the work that you're interested in. And a lot of us have connected with these lawyers offline. And it's been great for our network building and also just learning a lot more. So it's very all encompassing of the entire process.
Great. Thank you, Edmundo. So let us go to the next slide, Lila, which should be, I think it's LSAT. Oops. Okay, and Edgar's going to talk about this, and I can tell you from doing now five years of interviewing, I know a lot of you apply to programs like this because you get free LSAT prep, which I don't blame you. If I had a program like this when I went to law school, I would have done that. It's really, really important, and it's a lot of work, right? So Edgar.
Yeah, so I know that the LSAT is really scary and intimidating at first, but I think once you go through the course that is provided by LSAT Lab, I think you can become more confident in your test taking abilities towards the end, because I know that has happened to me. So it is weekly classes every Sunday with an LSAT Lab instructor. And every week, he'll introduce us to different topics on the test, whether that's on reading comprehension or in logical reasoning. And he'll do a deep dive into explaining LSAT Lab's approach into how to approach the actual questions and tips that you can use to really fully comprehend what you're analyzing on the test. So those are really insightful. And then with another LSAT Lab instructor, Laura, I assume we'll have her next year, Cindy. But she's phenomenal too, because she's always available to answer any kinds of questions that you have via email. And we also get some weekly Mindset Monday installments, which are actually really motivational, because what she's trying to do is harness the mindset that the LSAT is something that is learnable and something that you don't necessarily need to be too anxious about, because you can do a really good job on the LSAT through proper training. So those are always really encouraging. So in addition to the weekly classes on the new topics every week, we are also assigned homework to accomplish every week. And this has been going on since March, the end of March. So all of us in cohort 5 have been doing homework assignments and practice tests and practice sections and learning every single concept since the end of March. And we're going to have our final homework assignment, I think, next week, which is actually really crazy. It's gone by really fast. And, you know, these several months that we have had to practice might sound like a lot, but actually it's, you know, to some it's sufficient, but to some, you know, you might need a little bit more time. But LSAT Lab's approach is to get you ready for August. So I really enjoyed this LSAT prep. The instructors are great. It's very learnable. One of my favorite, I guess, sections about LSAT Lab is their analytics. It gives you true, deep insight into the types of questions you're answering, the level of difficulty, the amount of time that you're spending on them. And that's a really helpful tool to identify which areas you might want to practice a little bit more on. So it's free as well. And that's probably one of the biggest perks. You do not have to pay for this several month-long LSAT Lab prep course. So it's a real benefit. Cindy, is there anything else that you'd like me to touch on?
I don't think so. I think
Oh, office hours. Office
Oh,
hours.
yes.
Laura has office hours every week, private office hours that you can arrange, and open office hours where anybody can attend. And you can just ask her straight up any questions that you have, material related or accommodations related, or anything else related to the LSAT.
Great. Okay, I hate to be sounding like a nudge, but please, we won't be answering questions that you put in the chat. So please put them in the Q&A. But I'm just looking at some. The meetings that Edmundo talked about, they're one Saturday a month starting in February. In January, we have what's a really fun event, our welcome reception / speed mentoring. That's when you're going to meet the attorney mentors, which we're going to talk about in a second. But the workshops are all day, like Edmundo said. They're from 9 to 4. We always have a social hour afterwards, which I think is when the fellows get to know each other really well. So, but those are 9 to 4. And as we said before, they're either at Loyola Law School, Santa Clara Law School, MTO law firm in SoCal, or different law firms in NorCal. And again, you are expected to be there in person. Okay, so please don't put questions in the chat. I'm sorry, did I already say that? I did. All right, Lila, what is our next slide, please? Mentorship. I think Fitz, are you talking about mentorship?
Absolutely.
All right.
So mentorship with Leap is phenomenal, truth be told. So there's two components to it. So we get assigned an attorney mentor, and we also get assigned a law student mentor. So um, I mean to preface by saying that a couple years ago, I tried to embark on the journey of applying to law school, and it did not go well. I did not complete it. I kind of just stopped halfway, and I wish that I had someone to guide me and walk me through the mistakes that I was making, so that I could learn from them. But for Leap, we get to meet with our mentors every workshop, whether it's virtual or in person. But at the same time, that we're not restricted to just meeting with our mentors just once a month. You kind of build that bond with your mentor. You build a relationship, a personal relationship with your mentors at that. So you get to reach out to them every day, every week if you need to send an email, send text messages, phone calls, and they provide a myriad of support. So for instance, our law school mentors give us insight into their process was like, what it took for them to study, what it took for them to apply, the being waitlisted, and what that journey was like. So we get to learn from our law school mentors, our attorney mentors, what it takes to succeed, what it takes to build, actually, to build the fortitude to succeed in this field, right? So from both our attorney mentors and our law school mentors, we get to learn to review our resumes, our personal statements, our diversity statements in real time. Just to get an opinion on it and what should we change, and what is applicable to law school and what isn't. Edmundo touched on it earlier, where he said that you might have a wonderful resume, professional resume, but that just might not cut it later on. And so we get to just interact with our law school mentors and our attorney mentors and figure out what it is that we need to do in order to build a perfect resume. Also, we get general support. It doesn't have to be exactly law school related, but we get general support throughout the LEAP program from our mentors. For me personally, check-ins have been like my attorney mentor and my law school mentors. We had two law school mentors. They checked up on me in times where they didn't know that I was overwhelmed and I wasn't really doing doing well mentally in that space, in that moment of time. But they've checked in and provided such support that I could forever be grateful for. And I think that for me, one of the things that was really imperative about this mentorship experience is learning from their own experience, actually learning from their mistakes, and so that we don't have to bump our own heads and make those same mistakes. But Leap in the mentorship has been phenomenal. I feel like we're building lifelong bonds, not just bonds through the program itself and it ends, but it's going to continue through law school, and we hope that it continues through our professional careers as well.
Thank you, Fitz. I can tell you that, so most of these fellows are in cohort 5, but the ones who are in cohorts like 1 and 2, they are still in contact with either their law student mentor or their attorney mentor. So as he said, these can be lifelong relationships. One of the things I've learned about our cohort 5, they don't know this, many of them are a little bit shy and reluctant to reach out to their attorney mentors. They are there for you. They would not be volunteering if they didn't have the time. So this is one of those relationships that you really need. I don't want to say take advantage of, but because that doesn't sound right, but take every opportunity that LEAP offers you. I'll say it that way. Okay, next, I don't know if we have a slide for this, but Ava's going to talk about community. Oh, sorry, pre-L boot camp. Michelle, my bad.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the pre-L boot camp. So in order to qualify for the pre-L boot camp, you have to have applied to law school and gotten into law school. That part is a bit up for grabs because sometimes we're still waiting to hear back from schools when the program starts in January. We started in January. But basically, the pre-L boot camp is designed to help us get into the mindset of starting school. So that's the beauty of LEAP that a lot of other pipeline programs don't provide. They don't just set you off on your own once you apply to school and potentially get in or don't get into law school. These programs are, or this program is designed to help us answer all of the unknown questions or any questions that we may have in the process of being accepted to law school and actually starting law school in August. So for example, some of our workshops, which were once a month on a weekend mostly, some of our workshops included talking to current law students. We asked them questions about how to take notes, what are some good study tips, what do you recommend I use? Like, should I use a backpack? Should I buy an iPad to take notes or to have my books? Little questions that you might think now are super far away, but as someone who was in cohort 4, like this seemed like super far away, but it actually came really quickly. And we also, part of the pre-L boot camp, the part that was the most amazing, and I'm sure as the program, as we get more cohorts and more funding and all of that, the pre-L boot camp is just going to get even better. So one of the things that we got to do was we got to take 2 classes towards the end of the program with DeAndre. He has a program called Legally Fit, and he taught us how to do case briefs, how to outline. And a lot of people say, I haven't started school, but a lot of people say that once you start law school, it's all guns a-blazing. Like there's no easing into it. So LEAP gives you this edge against all of your other or your fellow classmates by, I know how to case brief. I know how to read a case. And that's just something awesome. Also, at the end of the pre-L boot camp, we have what we call Family Day. And we get to speak with two current law students and their families with our own families, and they can ask questions about how life in law school is going to be like, how to help, or whoever your support system is, if that's your partner, if that's your friends, how can they support you when you're in law school? And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Michelle. Like Michelle alluded to, there are no other diversity pipeline programs that have this pre-L boot camp. And the idea, like she said, and I put myself in their position, when I went to Loyola Law School, I don't think I mentioned that. And when I went to our orientation, I had no idea what they were talking about when they were talking about outlining cases and the Socratic method. We didn't have any lawyers in our family. I'm first gen also. So the idea is to demystify that first year of law school and to try to make it as not scary as possible. Now, they have to, when Michelle goes to law school, she'll be able to tell me how prepared we prepared them, because of course we can't prepare you 100%, but the idea is your privileged counterparts, they've been talking to their parents, their aunts, their uncles, right, their relatives, their whole lives about this stuff. But our students who are first gen, who are low SES, have not had that same privilege. So we're trying to level the playing field as much as possible. I love our pre-L boot camp. I don't know if you mentioned this, Michelle. It's facilitated by our law student mentors, which is really, really cool. Yeah, it's a great part of our program. Okay, next, Lila, next slide. It should be, let's see. Okay, and more. So community. All right, Ava, now it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm loving the comments right now. How everyone is already showing how Leap has this essence, right? I think that's one of the things that really attracted me to even apply in the first place. But I can tell you, Leap is amazing. Like, you are gonna meet so many amazing people. Like, shout out to Fitz. We are in the same squad, so you get paired up with other of the fellows, and they've been my supporting system. Besides, like my mentors, I can always reach out to my squad, and I feel really comfortable with them. Like, I was literally on texting Fitz before this meeting. I was like, "How do you feel? How are they nervous?" Even building up to a workshop, we text each other, "Hey, like, how's your commute? How long are you gonna get here?" It's always great to have someone you can touch bases with, especially like some days are really rough and maybe you're doing bad in your LSAT prep. So it's amazing to have someone you can relate to. And then once you bring it up, you realize that all of you are struggling in the same thing. So then you find more resources, you find another video that can help you with the question that you were struggling with. And I think that's amazing. Like, I can tell you right away, when we went to like the first orientation that was on Zoom, um we were texting on the chat, "Hey, who's commuting from where and there?" And I found out that there was multiple people from the Island Empire, and we all agreed to meet up. We met up prior to our first workshop. We met up at a coffee shop, and we just like bonded real quick. And they were my friends through this entire thing. Then I had a set of people, and like I said, it's like you are creating another family that they can relate to, especially because as a first generation student, I didn't have anyone with this background. It's just really amazing because not only am I making this community, but we're bringing the community bigger, because now I'm telling other students, apply to leave, do this. If you know, like, it's just amazing that you can bond with someone so quick, and then they be in your support system. And I don't know, I'm literally at a loss of words because Lip has been amazing.
Thanks, Ava. Thank you. See, I love all the hearts. Okay, Lila. Oh, there you are. There are so many really good questions. I love it. So I like having a fellow like Ava talk about community. When I first created Leap, I did not realize how important community was going to be. It is it's very organic. Every cohort is like Leap is a community. I say it's not a family because families can be very dysfunctional, right? And I don't like to think of us as dysfunctional, but I do think of us as a community. You're creating a network with your Leap cohort. You are creating a network with some of the presenters. So we always, I think Edmundo talked about the panels. We have amazing panels of attorneys come to every workshop. They are, for some of our fellows, the highlight of the day. And they always tell our fellows, reach out to us on LinkedIn, right? And they mean it. Now, I don't know what percentage of fellows actually reach out to them, but if I was going to join something like Leap, I would, again, take advantage of every opportunity that you are given. The other thing we didn't mention is networking at bar associations. So we go to Latino lawyers, Mexican American Bar Association, Mexican American Bar Foundation. If you are an engaged Leap fellow, and I need to emphasize, if you are engaged, you're going to get invited to these things. There are extra perks that are not part of the application. We don't really talk about them too much, but there are extra perks that you're going to get that you might not get anywhere else. So the community is super important. So we are doing great on time. By the way, I forgot, Lila and I were talking about, after she and I talked, we were going to have all of you put in the chat your favorite law movie, if you want to put that in. We've done this before, and it's hilarious, the things that people put in. So Lila, what questions should we answer?
I'm glad you asked because I've identified a few. Give me 1 second. Someone asked about the GPA requirement. So I take it that this person has already created an LSAC account, but on On their transcripts, it shows as a 3.5, but on LSAC, it shows that the cumulative GPA is slightly lower. Which one would we use for our application?
If you have, it's a great question. Oh my gosh, I love Aaron Brockovich. So, sorry. Okay, let me focus. If you already have an else, oh, Your Honor. Okay, sorry. I'm just going to take a side.
Cindy?
So that was amazing. Okay, focus, squirrel. Okay, if you have an LSAC GPA, most of you don't, and LSAC is the Law School Admissions Council. You will get to know them when you're in LEAP, or even if you're not in LEAP, when you apply to law school. You have to create an LSAC account. If you want to create one now, it's free to create one, and it is not too early to do it. If you have an LSAC GPA, please put that on the application, because that's the one that's going to count. It's not your college cumulative one. If you went to community college and a 4-year, LSAC has some funky formula, and I wouldn't even begin to be able to explain it, but they have a formula where they figure out what your GPA is. On the application this year, we're doing this. We haven't done this before, and it's because of questions like these. If you went to community college, we're going to ask for the community college GPA. We're going to ask for your 4-year. We will, like, try to figure out some formula as to what your GPA is. So someone said they had below a 3.0 in, let's say, community college, but above a 3.0 in 4-year. Of course, together, that will be at least a minimum 3.0, so you will qualify, if that makes sense.
Awesome, thank you for that. If a student is accepted, how long do they have to make a decision? And this is a question that I want to ask. What if students are applying to multiple pipeline programs?
That's a great question.
What do you have to say about that?
So you cannot be in more than one pipeline program at the same time. We are very strict about that. So if you're applying to us and UCLA Law Fellows and SEO Catalyst, which are the 3 most popular, you can't say yes to all 3. You can't even say yes to 2. So if we go, I think by the end of, like, around Thanksgiving, first week of December, we will do offers, and you'll have to tell us, like, it's kind of right away. I don't know when the other ones, when their applications are due or when they give offers. And by the way, we have had applicants say, you know what, we're going to say no to LEAP and say yes to one of the others. I promise you, you will not hurt our feelings if you pick another program. You will not. We have so many qualified people that if we pick you and then you decide not to, I can go to our waiting list. We have a lot of people who are on a waiting list. They will be so happy. So please don't feel nervous or weird if you say no to us. It happens every year.
Thank you for that. And then I have a couple of questions on the LSAT. So one of the questions is, what if someone's already taken the LSAT? Are they still expected to do all of the LSAT test prep stuff? Is that still part of their requirements if they're satisfied with their LSAT score?
If they are if they are satisfied with their LSAT score, and I'm going to just say if they're in the 160s and they have a really good GPA, like, good for them that they don't have to take it again. I'm going to be on. So in cohort 5, in this cohort, we have a lot of, not a lot, I don't know if it's 10%, who took the LSAT, who already had good scores and wanted to get better. The better you do on the LSAT, it is directly related to financial aid. So if let's say you have a 160, what if you could get a 165? That is more money and more opportunities for higher ranked schools. So we can talk about that, but by the way, if you've already taken the LSAT, it doesn't disqualify you from applying. If you want to take the GRE, it doesn't disqualify you from applying.
That was my next question. Thank you. Someone
You read
asked
your
if
mind.
they intended to apply and take the GRE instead, would that disqualify them? So it's like we're on the same wavelength. I love it.
Mhm.
Okay, next question. What about students who maybe are deciding to apply this year to law school, so they may not be eligible, or it wouldn't make sense for them to apply to LEAP? Do you have any advice for them, or are there any resources that are available to them
Right.
that are like?
You
True.
actually can't apply to LEAP because we are taking this cohort is so that for people who are applying next fall. So I want to reiterate that. You'll apply to LEAP in September. If you get chosen, we have our virtual orientation in December. The program starts in January 2025, which is just around the corner. Very scary. I can't even believe. And then you will apply in the fall of 2025 to go to law school in 2026. So if you want to apply to law school this cycle, that's what cohort 5 is. You missed that. So, and in terms of resources from us, we do, and we're trying to do more of them. We do sidebar cafe webinars. That's what this is. In fact, I'll plug one in September. I think it's the 18th. We're doing a sidebar cafe webinar on judicial clerkships. If you don't know what that is, come to the webinar. But we're going to try to do those more often for students, such as for the students who don't get into LEAP, but want some resources. I hope that answered that question.
I think you did. I can answer this one. Someone asked for their references. Do they need to put at least someone who's a professor if they're still in school? If you are still in school, you should have someone who could speak to your academic abilities. If you've been out of school for some time, it makes sense if you haven't been in touch with your professors. At that point, we would recommend putting a mentor, someone who's your direct supervisor. It should not be your friend, your cousin, your bestie. We really want someone who can speak again to either your academic abilities and or your work ethic. Those are the people that we want to be able to vouch for you. Anything you'd add to that, Cindy?
Oh, perfect.
Someone asked, since we do have that social justice component, do we give priority to students who are interested in public interest law or social justice over big law?
No. And let me tell you why. Yes, we have a social justice bent, but trust me, if you know nothing about big law, there are so many LEAP fellows who came to LEAP only wanting to do social justice work, whatever that means to you. They came to a workshop and learned about big law. They learned a few things: what their debt was going to be, that big law lawyers do great pro bono. And so they thought to themselves, shoot, I've got this huge debt, so I could go into big law, make a lot of money, and do good. Why would I not do that? And some of them, I mean, I can't tell you how many of our LEAP fellows right now in the summer are summer associates at big law firms. We have a few of our 11 graduates. Let's see, Nani will be in, two of them. Is it two? Yes, will be working in big law firms. So we don't give a preference because you're going to change your mind. You have no idea what you're going to do when you get to law school. Trust me. I wanted to go into family law. Dear God, I am so glad I did not do that. By the way, I was a prosecutor in our criminal division for a few years. And then for most of my career, I prosecuted doctors. So I took away their licenses. The idea of doing family law for me just was not interesting. But that's what I thought I wanted to do before law school. So you have to come in with an open mind.
Thank you for that, Cindy. Okay. Someone, I can answer this one, or if you can take this one actually, if you want. Could I still apply if I'm currently a sophomore with junior standing, meaning they have enough credits to be a junior?
Mm.
Can I take this one?
Yep.
If you are planning on graduating with that number of units, so you can't apply as just because you have junior standing and still plan to graduate 2 years from now, because then you're still a sophomore with just some extra credits. You want to make sure that if you are in junior standing, that you're following that and that you'd be graduating at the same time as when a senior would, because then you're able to take full advantage of this program. Otherwise, you might be applying way too early to us, and it's really a disservice to yourself, because we want to make sure that not only are you a good fit, but that you're also reaping the benefits as much as possible. So keep in mind, and this goes to everyone who's still in school, you will have to balance all your academic priorities, right? Taking your exams, your midterms, having all your school projects, and still be expected to do all of that LEAP requires of you. And that can sometimes be a lot. And I'm not saying this to discourage you. I just want you to, again, make sure that you're applying at the right time. Because we want to make sure that you're taking advantage of everything that we have to offer you rather than feeling overwhelmed or like you're drowning in it. So that's a long-winded response to your question, but
And
hopefully that helps.
actually, you can't, if you're a sophomore, not this person, but if you're a sophomore, you can't apply. You're not qualified. So, by the way, I'm loving that already people in the chat are connecting with each other. This is so LEAP. I love it. Okay, Lila.
What about someone was asking basically about LEAP in relation to T14 schools, like if they were to apply to our program and they listed on their application, like do schools even know who we are? You know, do we
Yeah.
exist to them?
So I want to start by saying, please stop focusing on the T14. I say that to all of our fellows, even if you have a really high LSAT and a really high GPA. I'm not saying don't apply to those schools, but please don't focus on them because you'll be very disappointed if you don't get into those schools. And I've had this conversation maybe with some, I don't know, maybe some people who are on this, some of the fellows here. So please don't focus. Secondly, schools. So although we've only been around 5 years, almost every school in California knows who we are. And in fact, I think the Berkeley application, I believe Loyola's application, I'm not sure about USC's, actually ask if you've been in a pipeline program and they list LEAP. We're a drop down, which is super cool. We're a drop down. Like that was not a goal of mine, but it's very cool. I can tell you the schools back east who know about us, Columbia, because we have students there. Like I said, if you're asking T14, Stanford knows about us because we have students there. Berkeley does, UCLA does, Columbia does, but it's not really relevant if they know about LEAP. You're going to have LEAP on your resume, and you're going to have they're going to know that you were in a pipeline program. But I mean, it's good. It'll help a little bit, but just yeah, I'll just leave it at that. It'll help a little bit.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Someone asked a really good question. What about dual enrollment? So let's say they took community college classes when they were in high school and then they attended college. Would they still include that in their GPA?
Yep. That's an
Yes.
easy answer.
Okay. And then I want to answer this one. So someone asked what if they add both GPAs and divide by 2? Is that cumulative? No, that's not how it works. We want to make sure that we average everything out. So that's a really good question. That's not how it would work. If you're referencing like what Cindy discussed earlier about the LSAC, they do their own calculation. I don't have the brain power for that, but they have a formula, they use it and they calculate. We can't challenge that, so if you do have an LSAC account, like Cindy said earlier, and it does fall below a 3.0, we are very strict with that 3.0 minimum. And so you would be ineligible, unfortunately.
Right. And again, I want to make sure on the application, when you will put, if you went to community college, your GPA. If you didn't go to community college, just put an NA there, because I know people are going to ask about that. So you would put your GPA from community college, your GPA from your 4-year. Yes, the person who asked that about dividing by 2, that unfortunately that's not how they do it.
And then, okay, a few more questions because I know we are at time. If someone has previously applied to law school, would that make them ineligible to apply?
Nope. And if you've previously applied to LEAP and you weren't chosen, you're not ineligible.
Yeah. And then a lot of questions. Oh, this is a really good one. Someone is a little bit confused about the distinction between LEAP and MTO. Are they together? Are they not?
There's no distinction. There's no MTO fellows anymore. There's LEAP and you're in an MTO chapter, a SoCal chapter, or NorCal chapter, there's no MTO fellows anymore.
Yes, so MTO was essentially partnered with LEAP, absorbed by LEAP, and so they are an extension of us. So the reason we named them that is because they help make it possible for our fellows to be here, and so that is part of how they're honored. So yes. When would students know if they've been chosen? You would know by end of November, early December, and then if you go ahead and you are admitted and you want to participate, then you would attend a virtual orientation in early December as well. Do we know the date for that already, Cindy?
The board, no.
Okay. Oh, someone asked, what if they've been a previous student in like another program like UCLA Law Fellows in the past? Could they still apply? That's a very good one. Yes. So you just can't be in two programs concurrently. And that's because we want to make sure that we're allocating resources, right? Like we're already like few programs, and if someone's double dipping, that becomes unfair to someone who could have been making use of these resources, and now you're taking full advantage of two. We understand the logic, we get it. You want to maximize your chances. There's no hate on that. However, we need to be fair to other people and give them a shot as well. So that's really why we're doing it. It's not because we hate each other. No, that's not it at all.
Although I am always curious why you're in one program and then come to another, but I'll ask that on the interview. Oh, someone asked about the interviews. Are they going to be individual or group? The way we're doing it is your applications will be read by two different people. If you make it, your interview is it's an invited interview only. Not everyone gets interviewed. Just, I don't even know if it's half of you. You'll do round one, and that could be with a board member or an attorney mentor. It's virtual. It's an interview. I would really like to emphasize dress appropriately. It is shocking to me how some people dressed, and I know it's virtual, but we can see you. We can. So this is an academic program to get into a very difficult academic school. So treat it as such. But then the round two interviews will probably be with Lila and I, and this year we might be doing in groups. We're still playing around with that.
Oh, and then Cindy, something that you mentioned earlier was that if people wanted to follow up, that they should email you. Can you
Sure.
please put your email address in the chat?
Sure.
So everybody keep your eyes open so that you can go ahead and email Cindy. And then last question, or a great question, I should say, is how can a student make themselves stand out? How can a candidate make themselves stand out? What are you looking for in applicants?
So you need a great story. Why you want to go, really think about why you want to go to law school. I actually have one of the fellows. I mean, when you guys were answering the essays, what were you thinking about? There's four essay questions, and they're not going to come out until September 1st. But yeah, if any of the fellows want to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, when I was answering the essay questions,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. When I was answering the essay questions, I was thinking about my why. I was thinking about impacts that I've had or people have had on me, and whether it was negative or positive, and how it shaped me. I was thinking about the how I want to serve my community, and I think those were some of the primary factors that helped me write those essays.
Yeah, I mean,
I also think it's important to highlight, especially if you've been in another pipeline program or you've taken the LSAT and you're sharing that, to highlight why, kind of like why LEAP, besides why, like mention why you want to go to law school, but also what makes LEAP different? Why should we accept you? What are you going to bring to LEAP that sets you apart from another candidate?
Yep. We want people who want to make a change. And it's going to sound so dramatic, but we want people who want to change the world. And I know that just sounds, everyone says that, but I can tell you reading these applications, the people who apply to LEAP are incredible. All of your applications are going to be good, which is why it's so hard to pick. We said no to so many people last year, and it stinks. I don't like to have to say no to so many people. I don't want a bunch, I don't want 370 people applying. It just makes it too hard for us. I could never do admissions. I mean, never, because I would want to say yes to so many people. But I mean, make sure, yeah, your why is really important. And also follow the instructions. Follow the instructions, right?
Yes, that's very important.
Yeah. You have to do it in law school. I mean, obviously you had to do it in college, but if you don't follow the instructions, I will tell you, there are mentors who will ding you. They will. Especially our big law mentors. Oh, forget it. Yeah. All right. Lila, let's just do one or two more questions.
Alrighty. Best practices for the interview part.
Well, number one, I mean, obviously be on time. I don't really think we ever had an issue with that. You know, dress appropriately and come prepared. You have to sell yourself. No one's going to do it for you. So if you're shy or introverted, or you think you're being conceited or whatever, I know it's a first gen issue. Just know someone else next to you is going to be talking about themselves. So you have to really, oh my gosh, what's the word? Pat yourself on the back, but that's not it. But just, you remember, we're only going to meet you maybe once. Like, we're going to read your application. We're going to, the first interview is maybe 20 minutes with someone, and the second interview is maybe a half an hour. You've got to make a really good impression on us in that time. And that's not a lot of time. And I mean, it is kind of hard on us, because we have to make these decisions. I'm trying to think, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. We're going to be with you for a year. Actually, what am I saying? It's not just a year. Yeah. It's more than a year. I mean, I don't want to say it's a lifetime, because you might be going, geez, we don't want to be with you for a lifetime, but it's a very short period of time that we have that information that we have about you to make really important decisions. Because these positions are few and far between. Like I said, there's only 65 positions, some in Northern California and more in Southern California. And it is, I mean, this is not me patting myself on the back. It is an honor to get to be a LEAP fellow, right? Okay, let's just do one more, and then we have to watch the Dodgers and the Olympics.
I guess the last one that came up a lot was, I guess the breakdown of how many fellows we have that are maybe still currently in college versus those that are currently working. I would say we have a good mix. I don't know. Do you have the percentage breakdown, Cindy?
Who are, say that again, percentage of who are working and who are still in school?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say I haven't looked at the data for cohort 5. I feel like it's more people who have already graduated from college, but
we had a good mix this year.
You can be in college. So I'm just looking at Edmundo. I had no idea that you weren't accepted, and then you missed the deadline by a day, and then that is amazing. Wow, that is amazing. I can tell you, similar to Edmundo, we definitely have applicants who did not get in their first year and then got in their second year. I didn't know that we had one for the third year, but yeah, don't, like you said, do not self-select out. You shouldn't self-select out for anything, at all, whether it's college, a job, a position in a student organization. Never self-select out, because you never know. Okay, Lila, I know I said, have we answered a lot of them?
I think a lot of them are pretty much in that same line of thought. Others are too specific, I think, to answer here with the group.
Okay. All right.
But
I'm just looking at all these people who are gonna like meet with each other. This is hilarious. Okay, well, thank you. I hope this was helpful. We are, the applications don't come out until September 1st. And, oh, this is what we didn't say, Lila. Please do not apply the last day. Please, please do not wait until the last day. Let me tell you why. Not that the website breaks down. We use, and I think we're using it the same, we're doing the same thing. We use like Google Docs and things. If when you apply and you're going to upload things to our website, it's going to be one PDF. Again, read the instructions. We will not, like, if you don't, if you do something wrong, we're not going to grant you an extension. Because a judge wouldn't, like a partner wouldn't. So you kind of need to start learning that stuff now. But if when you apply, you're going to get an automatic email from the system saying we got your application. If you wait until the last day, they will only accept, Gmail does this or Google, a certain amount of applications will get that's automatic note. And then after, and it's like 100. So yes, last year over 100 applied on the last day. And what happened was the people who were 101, 102, 103, they did not get that automatic email. So they didn't know if we got their application. So then they emailed me. So it's 5 o'clock on that, well, it was a Friday, that on Sunday, and I'm responding to them, telling them, yes, we got it. I'm not doing that this year. 5 o'clock comes, I am going to be somewhere else. I will not be responding to those emails. So please do not wait until the last day. Please, please, please. Some of you will, but I hope it's not 100, because I will not, like I said, after 5 o'clock, I'm not going to respond. So you will have no idea if your application was accepted. So, okay. So any last minute things that any of the fellows want to say before I'm going to stop recording, or maybe not.
Oh, I'll say something.
Okay.
Don't try and be somebody that you're not on the application. I think that really reads through and can be identified very quickly. So like all the others have said, just like know your why and know why you want to go to law school, or at least the idea that you have. You don't need to know exactly what you're going to do when you become an attorney, but you know the reasons why you're pursuing this field, because it's not an easy one. I'm not even in it and I'm talking like I know it, but from what I've seen and from what I've heard, it is not easy.
Yeah.
I completely agree with Edgar. As someone who actually does work in admissions, aside from this, believe it or not, this is my fun job. You can read the authenticity versus when someone's trying to force it and maybe present themselves as who they think we want them to be. Lean into who you are, play to your strengths. It'll serve you well, not just in this, but in life.